بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون، الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى، والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء وخاتم المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين سيدنا ونبينا بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. واللعنة الدائمة الباقية على أعدائهم ومنكر فضائلهم وغاصب حقوقهم من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم: إنما وليكم الله ورسوله والذين آمنوا الذين يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة وهم راكعون. صلوات عليك. This is the eve of the 20th of Ramadan, the night between the Zarbat and Shahadat of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam al-Muttaqeen, Ali bin Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. For the last few years during this night, based on the request I had received long time ago, we tried to do the entire majlis, including the Masaib, in English. Salawat alayka. For tonight's majlis, I would like to very briefly connect with one aspect of the discussion which we started yesterday about the spiritual status of Amir al-Mu'mineen, and inshallah we'll continue that tomorrow night in more details. But tonight I would like to talk about the status, the spiritual status of Ali from the perspective of Jihad. Jihad is an important teaching in Islam. It is one of the furu'id-din out of the 10 things which are taught to all children. We cannot shy away from it just because in the modern world, in the western part of the world, in the media, Jihad is given a bad name because of the misuse of the term by people like Bin Laden. But just because someone in a very fringe element from our ummah misuses a religious terminology for their political agenda doesn't mean we shy away from our religious teachings and our language and the terminologies which are there, part of our teachings. We have to explain to the people that that's a misuse of the term. But in Islam, when we talk about jihad, as the Prophet himself divided into two: minor jihad and a major jihad. And even the way he talked about it, Jihad Asghar and Jihad Akbar, the names themselves reflect the importance of one over the other. Defining the minor jihad, he says this refers to taking up arms to defend your lives, your property, and your land against aggression. And this cannot be, opposed by anyone. You look at the different civilizations around the world, even what's going on now, every nation, every individual has a right to stand up to defend their own lives and their properties and their land. And so this is not an issue of discussion or debate. Then the Prophet explains what is Jihad Akbar. And Jihad Akbar, which is an ongoing issue for us, it is not only when the necessity comes up, it is an ongoing thing for every mature and baligh Muslim man or woman. You don't need anybody's permission, and this refers to the inner jihad and struggle. It refers to the spiritual jihad. where the struggle is between our soul on one hand and our emotions and desires, the power of lust and greed that Allah has created within us. The whole process of the fasting in the month of Ramadan is actually a reflection of Jihad Akbar. This is a training given to us how do we control our emotions and our desires so that we can deal with the temptations which come along the way in a more easy way. When you compare jihad, the minor jihad with the major jihad, Jihad Asghar has no meaning and no sawab if that Jihad Asghar is not based on Jihad Akbar. You know, it doesn't mean if somebody goes in the battle and fights very well, you know, Allah is going to accept it. Allah looks at the motivations behind their action. So even when you compare Jihad Asghar with Jihad Akbar, Jihad Asghar by itself has no value unless it is founded on the basis of Jihad Akbar. And that combination of Jihad Akbar and Asghar we see in the personality of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali bin Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. Ali was not only the foremost in the minor jihad. It is to his credit that Ali never lost any battle. Never. Even Siffin was not a defeat. It was a situation where then, you know, Muawiyah basically played the trick of forcing the soldiers of Ali for arbitration. But if it was a fight, wherever Ali was there was never defeat. So he is not only a champion in the battlefield, he is also the champion in the spiritual battlefield. And if you want to come back, you know, look at one example in his life where these two things came together is the Battle of Khandaq. Battle of Khandaq, or known as the Battle of Ahzab. This is in the 7th, I'm not exactly sure, 7th or 8th. This is before Fatih Makkah, before the 8th year of Hijrah, where the allied forces, all the mushrikeen and other tribes of Arabia, got together. 10,000 forces. Those days, 10,000 was a big number. They got together, then they basically planned to come and attack the city of Medina. They wanted to basically, in their own words, you know, eliminate this problem of Islam in the Arabian Peninsula. When the Prophet got the news based on the advice from Salman al-Farsi, he decided to defend the city by digging a ditch. And that is why the battle is known as Khandaq. Khandaq means a ditch. And this was a very new method of warfare technique, unknown to the Arabs before. And so when the allied forces of Meccans and others came together outside Medina, they realized, well, this is a new thing, you know, and so they put the city under siege for almost a month. Finally, 4 to 5 champions of the kuffar and mushrikeen were able to find an area where the ditch was narrower, and they decide to basically go in full speed on their horses and jump over. And this group of 4 to 5 people were headed by Amr ibn Abd Wud, he was known as a warrior of the Arab world at that time, where one person was equal to 1,000, you know, soldiers. This is based on a reputation he has from one of the battles before the era of Islam. And when he came over, jumped over, comes close to the campsite of Rasulullah, and according to the Arab tradition, he basically asked for a challenge. Hal min mubarid. According to Waqidi and other Sunni historians, because of the fame of Amr ibn Abd Wud, nobody dare respond to that challenge. كَأَنَّ عَلَى رُؤُوسِهِمِ الطَّيْرِ. These are the words of historians. As if there was a bird sitting on their heads. They didn't want to move and disturb the bird. It is so, solid there in their sitting position because of the fear of this fellow. The only person who responded was Ali. But Rasulullah said, sit down. Second time he calls, Hal min Mubaris, nobody comes forward. Rasulullah was giving chance to others to respond. Again Ali stood up, again Rasulullah said, sit down. It is only the third time when Rasulullah allowed Ali to go and confront Amr ibn Abd. But before that, he called him closer. And he took his turban and put it on the head of Amir al-Mu'minin Ali bin Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. Uttering the words, Baraz al-Iman kulluhu ila al-kufr kulli. That the entire Iman now is going to confront entire kufr. Because here the Muslims are all afraid. On the other side, kufr was there, represented in form of Amr ibn Abd. And so this was total Islam confronting total kufr. And then when Amir al-Mu'mineen, went to him, Imam said, oh Amr, it is very well known from long days, even before Islam, that you had said that if anybody comes to me with 3 requests, I will surely accept one of the 3, if not all 3. And he said, yes, I'm still, on my promise. And Ali said, well, I have the request. Number 1, I call you to believe in Allah and Rasul. And Amr said, this is not going to happen. Then Amir al-Mu'minin said, my second request is, go back. Go back from where you came. And he says, you want me to become a radical, a point of joke for the women of Quraysh? That a person like me went there, challenged, and when Ali came, he just ran away? I can't do this. Then Ali says, well, I don't have a choice but to ask you for the third thing. And that is, let's fight. And Amr says, I'm really surprised. I never thought anyone in the Arab world would ever challenge me. And you have done this? And Amir al-Mu'minin said, yes. He said, yes, why don't you get down from the horse so we can be on the equal ground to fight one another. Amr then says, oh Ali, you are a kind and generous person. Your father was my friend. I don't want to kill you. Amir al-Mu'minin says, but I would like to kill you. And this is where he becomes very angry. And he took out the sword, and he's the one who did the first attack. And in that initial, combat, he struck Amir al-Mu'minin so strongly that he was able to actually break the shield of Amir al-Mu'minin and hit the forehead of Ali. Ali was injured at the time, but Amir al-Mu'minin stood his ground and counterattacked Amr ibn Abd in such a way that he basically forced him on ground. And that is the moment where Ali now goes and sits on him to finish him off. And this is where I come to the main point. Jihad Akbar and Jihad Asghar coming together. Right at that moment, Amr ibn Abd, the champion of Quraysh, spat on the blessed face of Amir al-Mu'minin Ali bin Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. For a moment, Ali stood up, took a few steps back, and then he came back and finished his job. And this is a point everybody asked him, Ali, why did you do this? Because even Rasulullah himself said that Amr ibn Abd is totality of kufr there. And you gave him this, it took this risk of moving away a few moments, few steps back. Why did he do this? The response of Ali I would like to present to you in the poetic style of Maulana Rumi, the famous Sufi poet of Iran, where he talks about this concept. And this is just paraphrasing the thoughts and ideas of Ali. These are not exactly the words of Ali, but put in a poetic form where he says, learn from Ali how to fight without your ego participating. When Ali said to Amr ibn Abd, I want to kill you, this was not the ego speaking. This was for the ghazab for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It wasn't Ali who had this hatred towards him, no. This ghazab was based on the ghazab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Learn from Ali how to fight without your ego participating. God's lion didn't do anything, and nothing originated but from his deep center. Whatever he did came from inside. And then, as if putting words in the mouth of Amir al-Mu'minin, he says, I veiled this sword for Allah's sake. I am the servant of God. I am not under the command of the body. I am God's lion, not the lion of passion. I am Asadullah, not Asadul Shahwa. I am the lion of God, not the lion of passion. My deed bears witness to my religion. And then he talks about this Jihad Akbar. You know, people are swayed by different elements, and the way, Rumi puts these thoughts of Ali in his own words, using the example of a wind. When a wind of personal reaction comes, I do not go along with it. There are many winds full of anger and lust and greed. So many winds come. Those who are weak are swayed by it. Sometimes the wind is the wind of anger, ghazab. Sometimes is the wind of lust. Sometimes it's the wind of greed. They move the rubbish. If you see the wind going around, what moves? It is all rubbish. So Ali basically putting, his thoughts in the words of Rumi is that anybody who is swayed by the wind of anger and lust and greed is not more than the rubbish, which moves around with the wind, moving of the wind. But the solid mountain of our true nature stays where it always has been. Whatever winds come and blow, the true character will always be steadfast and solid. There is nothing new except the divine qualities coming through the opening in me. In war I manifest. And then Rumi uses this ayat from Quran, putting it in the situation of Ali, that in war I manifest. You did not throw what you threw, I did it. This is an ayat of Quran referring to the Prophet when he once started the battle as a response in Badr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the ayat when he threw the arrow, Rasulullah. Allah says, Ma ramayta iz ramayta walakin Allah rama. O Ali, Rasul, when you shot the arrow, it was not you doing it, Allah was doing it. Means what Rasulullah did actually represented the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Maulana Rumi puts that in the form of Ali, that whatever Ali does, it's not Ali doing it, lakin Allah, this is done because of the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the sword basically is Ali's sword, but it is being wielded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salawat Allah. In this example of Khandaq, you see Jihad Asghar is based on Jihad Akbar. That even if Ali is killing someone, he doesn't want his own anger against that person to be involved in that motivation. He didn't want to finish off Amr ibn Abd because of the anger which, momentarily came to him when he spat on his blessed face. And that is the level of sincerity that we are talking about. And this is where we see that Ali indeed is Waliul Awliya and master of all the spiritual masters. Salawat man ekbar. From the eyes of Rasulullah when he looked at this battle and encounter, and of course with the killing of Amr ibn Abd the other four ran away. And with them running away, the whole allied forces decided to depart. And it was only Ali who one single-handed saved the Muslim army and the city of Medina. Surah Ahzab actually talks about it, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, relieved of Muslims by his source. That source and that means was the person of Ali bin Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. Salawat alayhi. When Ali was sent by Rasulullah used the words that totality of Iman is going to confront totality of Kufr. When he comes back, then Rasulullah said something even more amazing. He says, ضَرْبَةُ عَلِيٍّ يَوْمَ الْخَنْدَقِ أَفْضَلُ مِنْ عِبَادَةِ الثَّقَلَيْنِ. That one zarbat, one striking of this sword by Ali on the day of Khandaq, أَفْضَلُ مِنْ عِبَادَةِ الثَّقَلَيْنِ, is better than the worship of the human beings and the jinn from day one till the last day. You put the ibadat of Saqalain, the human beings and the jinn, from day one to the day of Qiyamah on one side of the scale. And this one act of Ali, one zarbat on the day of Khandaq on the other side of the scale, this is afdal, more worthier than that, than the ibadat of the ins and jinn. Why? Was it Ali that he was using the sword made of gold? No. Or did it take Ali, more effort than other battles to deal with Amr ibn Abd? No. It was the total sincerity of his deed, which became so powerful that one zarbat of Ali overweights the ibadat of Saqalain from day one till the day of Qiyamah. Salawat Akbar. And this is where we believe that Ali for us is the example. We don't need to go here and there. Learn from him what is sincerity, what is ikhlas. That whatever you do for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if you see, and this is where the test comes up. It really, from the worldly point of view, it is not a moment of sitting and thinking. You have the champion of Quraysh in front of you. He has already injured you on your forehead. Now you had the opportunity to kill him. Would you be thinking about these issues? No. Any other person in place of Ali would not be thinking, because after all, whatever is the end result, it is for the good of Islam. But Amir al-Mu'mineen didn't want his ego, his own personal emotions to be part of what he's doing, even in that very unusual circumstances. And this is where the greatness of Amir al-Mu'mineen comes in. That forehead which was injured by Amr ibn Abd, that spot is the same spot where this sword of Ibn Muljim struck him. It was the month of Ramadan when Rasulullah was giving the khutbah, and he talked about the greatness of fasting and different good deeds. Rasulullah was at the end of the khutbah. Ali stood up and asked a question. And Rasulullah started to cry. And Ali says, Ya Rasulullah, did I ask something wrong? And Rasulullah said, no, Ali, because I'm remembering something. It will be the same month of Ramadan when you will get your wish of dying in the path of Shahadat. Your head and your beard will be covered with your blood. Ali asked only one question, that Ya Rasulullah, ala salamati imani, when the time will come, I will be on the path of Iman. Rasulullah says, of course. Then Ali says, I don't really care about it. And this is where we see the eve of 19th comes. He is with Kulthum, his younger daughter, as the guest. And after the Sahri, when he leaves, even in the most difficult moment of his life, he still remembers Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When he starts the namaz and goes into ruku, and from ruku he goes into sajda, it is very normal for us that when we get up from the sajda, we actually come up fast. And just for a moment, take yourself to this mihrab of Masjid Kufa. Those of you who have been there. Where Ali is in the sajda, he's getting up. His head is coming up, and Ibn Muljim is striking the sword at the same time, very fast and with full force. And it hits in that same area where he was wounded before. But the force was such that actually the sword, which had been sitting in poison for a long time, went in to touch the brain of Amirul Mu'mineen. But even in that moment, Ali didn't cry because of the hurt and the pain. The first words that came to his mouth was, Fustu wa Rabbil Kaaba, that I have succeeded, O the Lord of the Kaaba, because the wish of Ali was never to die on the bed, but to die in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through shahadat. Not only that, when the people came around, and later on after the namaz, when Ibn Muljim was brought inside the masjid, he had been caught and he was brought at that time where Ali was still in the masjid. Hassan and Hussein were there, and they were preparing to take Amirul Mu'mineen, that champion of Islam, who actually was never carried until the last moment. Ali was not able to walk from Mihrab to his house. Ali had to be carried. And at that moment when Ibn Muljim was brought close, Amir al-Mu'mineen looked at him. People were slapping him, people were abusing him, and at that moment, Ali saw the face of Ibn Muljim that he was very much afraid. At that moment also, you see the control on his emotion and anger, that he turns to Imam Hassan and he says, Ya bunayya ifraq bi'asirik, oh my son, be kind and gentle to your prisoner. Imam Hassan says, Baba, you seen he is the killer, he is the murderer, he is the one who attacked you. But Ali wanted to leave a message that remember that even in this moment, I am kind and gentle to those who are attacking us. Maybe this was a message for the people of Kufa, that a time will come when my Hussein will come to Karbala, when you will bring his family back to Kufa. Remember my kindness and gentleness to the enemies, and be kind and gentle to my children and my family. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. مات حسين.